Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. We've got Sean on Elves versus Bant, Trade Binder from Ben. We'll see exactly what this entails. Sounds like stuff from his Trade Binder. We've got a Green Sun Zenith off of Windswept Heath, so that's going to need to be probably a Bayou. Oh, and it gets Force of Willed. Oh, basic Forest from Sean. Keeping it safe. And actually, nowadays, there's not really that much reason to stray away from the basic forests game one. Post-board, you want access to black for things like Thoughtseize and Abrupt Decay. But yeah, I suppose main deck, in the dark, you're going to be grabbing a basic forest at this stage. No Deathrite Shamans. Though you can get green or black with him anyways. And a Wirewood Symbiote. I'm just trying to see what that card is that got pitched. There's a Preordain in here as well. A Wirewood Symbiote and Quirion Ranger, so plenty of untapping available to Sean. Might wish he was running Timberwatch Elf by the end of this. And Ponder for Ben, as he's looking for potentially more lands. And passing the turn. So the thing that really put Elves over in terms of the current meta, I would argue, is Allosaurus Shepherd. This the ability to have everything uncounterable, as we see here, a second Green Sun Zenith being countered. I mean, Force of Will can slow this deck down, and at times reduce it to just a bunch of 1/1s. Sometimes that's good enough. There are plenty of times where a bunch of 1/1s can cobble together a win, particularly against a control deck. But if your opponent has any type of board presence, it's very often going to get one-upped. Your elf deck is going to get one-upped by whatever it is that they're putting out. It's probably better than a bunch of 1/1s. Even something like an Empty the Warrens is going to make a real mess of things. Most of the time, we've got nice Fankodal flashing in to draw a card, and, you know, it doesn't even need Death Touch here. I think you got to trade with the Wirewood Symbiote. That guy makes all of your other removal garbage. And you can't actually kill the Quirion Ranger anyways, as Wirewood Symbiote would be able to pick it up in response before blocks actually... Well, before damage happens. You could let blocks happen and then bounce it. Wirewood Symbiote, incredibly good. Probably the main thing that stops Elves from just being super obnoxious and Pauper. There's a really fun Pauper Elf deck. And man, like, hopefully Symbiote stays at uncommon, because that would push that deck way over the line. Nettle Sentinel. Heritage Druid has moved in the other direction while some stuff gets downshifted for that format. Heritage Druid recently showing up as a rare in Eternal Masters. I suppose it's not recent at this point. That's what, 2018? Brazen Borrower. Going on an adventure, Petty Theft, bouncing Sean's board, trying to maintain some semblance of control, preventing Elves from going super wide. And Snapcaster now arriving to allow for a flashback of Swords to Plowshares, and that's going to be brutal. So yeah, severe blowouts, Swords to Plowshares, along with Snapcaster Mage, does a lot of work versus kind of any creature strategy. Probably not at its best against Elves. It's not at its most impressive versus Elves, as you're just clearing a bunch of 1/1s. Wow, and a Force of Will on Heritage Druid. Ben playing this with an Iron Fist, hard casting Force to stop the 1/1 Elf. He just does not want Sean to have any type of board presence. It's worth noting, Bant doesn't have access to Plague Engineer, a card that control decks are able to stabilize against Elves with very often. Once that comes down, usually game over. I mean, there's a possibility for success. Natural Order is still a card floating around in the deck. You do have Dryad Arbor, Wirewood Symbiote, and Nettle Sentinels do survive the -1/-1 effect, but it's a pretty crippling impact. Allosaurus Shepherd shows up. Not going to be able to counter that one, but poised to trade with the Snapcaster Mage if need be, and a Swords to Plowshares readily available. Getting rid of that. And Teferi now. Pluses. Not going to be able to handle this potential incoming card advantage. I kind of want to give Ben, there's already a check mark up there for him. I feel like Ben's going to take this one down as long as things don't get... So, I can't even imagine how badly things would have to go. This Teferi can actually bounce the Snapcaster to get an extra use out of it and draw a card. Be like a post-combat move. As Sean at this point has had all of his elves handled, left with just a couple of bayous, a forest. Gaia's Cradle makes an appearance. Glimpse of Nature. That's a way this could go sideways. Vanilla Counterspell. Ben apparently had a Vanilla Counterspell from Revised in his trade binder. That is unfortunate for Sean, as that Glimpse of Nature is one of the few ways he could have gotten back into this game. A Resolved Glimpse can potentially allow an elf player to play out like literally their entire deck, depending on the combination of cards that come off the top and what he might be starting with in hand. Nettle Sentinel, along with the tap abilities from Birchlore Ranger or Heritage Druid, can just generate massive amounts of mana. And of course, each elf you cast, you're drawing another card to replace it, potentially another glimpse at some point. You might be able to start drawing 2 cards each, but that is absolutely not what's going down so far here, as the Brazen Borrower just chipping in to the red zone along with Snapcaster Mage each turn. Now we've got a Allosaurus Shepherd. Again, not going to be able to counter it, but it will not stick around for long. Teferi can easily bounce it and give Ben an extra card in hand. And Swords to Plowshares is something we've already seen from him. Allosaurus Shepherd. I mean, it's the real deal. It is way north of $100 now. And I don't know what we're going to see for additional Jumpstart. Everyone was expecting at some point Wizards to get their act together and get a ton of the product out there. It just hasn't happened. Council's Judgment going to take out one of these 1/1s. And the other one getting handled with a second Council's Judgment. Is that what we're seeing here? Does he have enough mana to do that? That'd be like 8 mana. Council's Judgment, bounce Snapcaster, flashback Council's Judgment. That is graphic. Oh no, it's just the Swords to Plowshares. Okay, so Snapcaster Swords, doubling up on Council's Judgment. I mean, that is scooping time. Quirion Ranger. And this Brazen Borrower acting a little bit like a Delver of sorts. It's going to chip in every turn and ensure that the Force of Negation hard cast to stop another haymaker from John. He kept throwing stuff. He did not give up till the very end. Just kept trying to see if he could make something work. I'm curious what he could have found with the Natural Order. If it would have been a Archon of Valor's Reach or what that might have helped him out in that situation. I believe that card has Flying or Reach. Not actually sure. Flying, Vigilance, and Trample. There we go. Who could interact with flyers. And, of course, he'd be able to shut off instant sorceries, planeswalkers, whatever he wants from Ben. Probably instants, I guess. Not really the best card in this matchup, if he is running it. A lot of the time, these Elf decks run a pair of Craterhoof Behemoths. I'm kind of in favor of that. I have played the deck a bit, and it is my feeling that when you draw the Craterhoof, it can cost you games, and having a second one in there really does. I mean, if you draw both Craterhoofs, you're probably you're not winning. Not too much you can do about drawing essentially dead cards. There are times when you have enough mana to cast them, to be sure, but for the most part, if you're drawing them early, it's already enough of a punishment, never mind eliminating your easy peasy Natural Order kill, which can just be totally denied if you've got your Crater Hoof in hand, you're just not able to natural order for it if you only run one in the deck. No, we'll see what Sean does. Looks like he's going to mull. We'll try and skip over that. And he'll lead out with a Tropical Island. And I wonder what the blue is for. It's possible he may have Leovold in there. That's a card that I've recently advocated for testing. I don't have an opinion. I just think it's an interesting card worth consideration as another Green Sun Zenith target, so to speak. Able to stop opposing Glimpse of Natures, and of course all of the cantrips from blue. Things going pretty well here for Sean. He's got this Wirewood Symbiote, just the one land, but Birchlore Ranger and Allosaurus Shepherd helping out. A Nettle Sentinel could really help as well. Nettle Sentinel plus Glimpse could get pretty out of hand pretty fast. Oh, but it's not to be. It's just attacking, and that kind of another strength here of this Ice Fang Coatl versus Baleful Strix. It's so much more likely to make an impact versus Elves. And that's going to have to take out the Wirewood Symbiote. Throwing it in front of an elf, of course, not going to do anything, as you can just pick it up with the Symbiote. He is... And wow, and another Symbiote off the top. This feels very familiar. Prismatic Vista. And a Ponder with the land on board. Ready to perhaps keep one of these cards and shuffle away the rest. Shuffle effects so good with cantrips, especially Brainstorm. I mean, that's the best combo in the game. Brainstorm plus Fetch. Just, I mean, it's an engine that makes things happen. You can actually pull together crazy combinations and find answers, solidify your lead, find a way back into the game. Really is one of the things that makes this format so incredible. I do think as the game progresses, we'll have Modern getting larger and larger, and to a degree, kind of, from my perspective, will just feel like Legacy Light, where it's just like, why wouldn't you just play Legacy? But hopefully, the format will continue to be at least of interest for people who might, want to be playing with, like, not Brainstorm. Maybe they think dual lands are too good. And that's fine. I got no problem with that. Let them have their format. But at the end of the day, I enjoy playing with the highest power level cards possible. I think Vintage and Legacy are both really fun places for that. And we got a Force of Will stopping. What did I just witness there? Was that an... I don't know what I just witnessed there. On my aside, looks like we've lost an elf. I thought it was a Green Sun Zenith, but it looks like perhaps a natural order was cast. Force of Will did stop whatever Sean was doing, but there was an Allosaurus Shepherd previously, which would have made countering a challenge. Now, Teferi has arrived, has replaced himself, but he may not be around for long. Birchlore Ranger eats a Swords to Plowshares, and Sean, who's been struggling on one land this whole time despite having a bit of a board presence, now has another Allosaurus Shepherd. And Uro. I'd say let me know in the comments how you say it, but it's going to be difficult to express, I suppose. And Snow-Covered Island from Kaldheim. Nope, this is dangerous. This is a good effort with one land. 3 mana. Wirewood Symbiote. Untapped Nettle Sentinel. 2 mana left floating. Heritage Druid. 1 left. I mean, he could get some more value out of this if he has more cards to play. I guess that is it. And Hull Breacher. That guy's all about denying the card draw. Played that card alongside Draw 7s in other formats. That's pretty fun. Actually, that's in Legacy too now with Days Undoing. That is actually a Legacy deck. Played it in Australian Highlander with Time Spiral and Wheel of Fortune. Time Twister. It's good stuff. What do we have here? Natural Order. Sacrificing Heritage Druid. This is uncounterable. Grab and Craterhoof. Everything's going to be getting at least +4/+4. So +5/+5. Everything turning sideways. So the Nettle Sentinel did untap with the trigger. And you can always return an elf to untap if need be. But this looks like it's just going to be lethal. The counting has ended and the next game has begun. So swinging out there, that's a pretty impressive comeback there for Sean. There is something to be said for what Allosaurus Shepherd really brings to the table. It's the fact that it's a 1-mana elf, which is what you want for the deck, so that's just insanely good. But also, the fact that it gives you that overrun effect is very significant. And when you're looking at those kind of all-in lines with Natural Order, a control deck's game plan is literally to get to the point where they can counter the game-winning spells. So control decks need to evolve in order to answer this threat, or just lose to it. You can have answers. Like, you can absolutely bolt a Allosaurus Shepherd and then counterspell their Natural Order, and that is fine. Like, that is a way to actually interact with this deck. But if you don't have the ability to get that Allosaurus Shepherd out of there, you're just going to get wrecked. And similarly, tapping out against it allows them to cast an Allosaurus Shepherd while you're tapped out and have no way of responding and just losing on the spot. Even if you're sitting there with like 3 Force of Wills, it's not going to matter if they can just jam an Allosaurus Shepherd and you can't remove it. So it's an interesting problem for control decks to figure out how to handle it. Cards like Baleful Strix and Icefang Code will go down in value as they're not really killing you by attacking with the Allosaurus Shepherd. It's not really about that. They're just often able to go way over the top and do a massive amount of damage with Trample even. And there'll be the new Strixhaven version, so be able to pimp out our Elves decks a little bit more effectively. Flooded Strand, Misty Rainforest. Interesting to see where this hand goes. This could feel really bad. If Ben just has like an STP for this Dryad Arbor, that would be super strong. A Green Sun Zenith X equals 1. And I wonder if he just drew the Zenith for turn there. I mean, that's what I would think would be the case. In my view, Elves really wants to have mana acceleration on that first turn. Or, well, you do want it, period. Full stop. You want mana acceleration on the first turn. It's also nice to have a Cradle on the second turn to take advantage of that acceleration. That's kind of your ideal keepable range, or toward the better end of your keepable range. But for the lower end, I mean, turn 1, nothing. Turn 2, Green Sun Zenith. That is not the type of start that you're hoping for. We'll see how it lines up with what Ben is doing. He's not playing something over the top and busted, but I mean, this is not super strong as far as Elves goes. He's got a Green Sun, a Glimpse of Nature with a couple of mana available, and a Brainstorm in response. Ben digging for a counter, most likely. And Glimpse is resolved. Wirewood Symbiote. Nettle Sentinel. Does have a Dryad Arbor, so he can return Nettle Sentinel to untap Dryad Arbor and get another round out of it. So drawing yet another card. And just needs to pass the turn. So Glimpse doing a little bit of work there. Drawing him 3 cards. I mean, 1 green to draw 3 would certainly be way too good for them to print. That's literally ancestral level recall power. But for Elves, I mean, that's not the best the Glimpse can do. We'll see if it's enough. As Ben does have card drawing of his own. Not so much card advantage, but card drawing. Brainstorm and Ponder. A distinction that used to be like really, really important when there were like legit draw engines. I feel like we're in a different area, a different era of Magic. Elves does, however, have a legit draw engine. It kind of feels like an old style vintage deck. So you've got card drawing that you can actually reuse to continue to further your game plan. So Wirewood Symbiote and Elvish Visionary, you can just pick it up and put it back down. Pick it up on your opponent's turn. You can just get like so many multiple extra draws. It also has tutors in the form of, we had a Hull Breacher come in and get KO'd by Abrupt Decay. Not a lot you can say about Abrupt Decay, but it does get a card for a treasure for Ben, denying the card draw. Hull Breacher. Mercifully not there last turn with the Glimpse. Sean was able to get while the getting was good, get some extra cards. And at this point, this match actually going very long. Both players with a mana base that could enable kind of the best that their deck has to offer. Sean, a guy is cradle away from going really crazy. Every draw from Elves, potentially game over. Not the type of deck you want to thought seize down to like no cards in hand and have no counter spells on your side and just feel okay about them drawing cards. I mean, just about anything could be a blowout. Elvish Visionary. It's going to be able to draw a bunch of extra cards here. Snapcaster Mage. Flashing back Ponder. And passing the turn back to Sean. Green Sun Zenith X equals 1. That does untap the Nettle Sentinel, and let's see what Sean's able to get. Gonna grab the Allosaurus Shepherd. Doesn't. Oh, there's the Cradle. There we go. So he can actually pony up all of these guys, or dino up everyone with this Gaia's Cradle. I'm pretty sure it's a 6 activated ability. Oh, why not? Sure. He's got a natural order as well. That's going to be able to grab the Craterhoof Behemoth. Everything's uncounterable. And barring some type of literal miracle from Ben, yeah, he's got an Ice Fang Codal. That is not going to do. He would need more mana and to be running Terminus, which I don't believe he is, as Sean's Elves gets there in the end thanks to that explosive natural order. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.